My mother came down to Kerry from Wexford, and the reason she came down here was because her father had died, and because she was an only child, she retired. She was a principal in a school in Ballymoran in Wexford, my grandmother. And so they came down to Kerry and lived out in Oak Park on the Listowel Road. And that's where she met her husband in James Carroll, my father. I don't know the full details, but he worked with an insurance company and things went badly in the insurance company. So he found himself having to go to England, like a lot of people back in those days. So he worked all his life in England, and my mother raised, at this stage they had the 10 children, so she raised the 10 children here. Well, I was second youngest in the family of 10. There was 2 girls and there was 8 boys in total. So I was the second youngest, and I have a twin sister called Audrey, who's also, she's a music teacher. My mother always said that the music came from her mother, who was a Mrs. Toohey from Clare. She won the Feshkill medal the year after John McCormack. And the same medal was won by my eldest sister Margaret back in the late 70s. And the same medal was won by one of my nieces only about 6 or 7 years ago, Ashley O'Carroll. So it just shows that it must be in the genes. Well, life was very happy. Our mother was, we all had a great time for our mother. But there was a generation gap in our family. Really, the last 5 of us are closer even to this day than the top 5. But as we got older, of course, we're all in communication. But life was wonderful, really. Our house was like Grand Central Station, because we all had our own individual friends. So there were people always coming and going from the house. And my mother then had maybe 50, 60 students in the week. So the door, there was always knocks on the door, and you'd be different people would answer the door, someone that you know to who's the student that's coming in. So it was a hectic house, really. You know, there were some characters used to come in and you know, it was kind of mayhem, but also it was very happy. Well, I remember as young, she used to be washing clothes in the sink and making us dinner, because my father was in England. And we got to a certain age, I think, when we all became calm, we just wouldn't let Mammy do the wear. We'd make sure we did it. And all that. But she loved, like, just being around. She was a very educated woman, but she said she never had to travel because she read a lot. And so she was happy just being around the family all the time. You know, she had a great way about her, like. And but she attributed that to her own upbringing. And one advice she always gave us growing up was, be nice and discreet. It must be something that she learned herself. Be pleasant with people, but always be discreet. And as I said, like, I suppose back in that generation, sure, all the women worked hard. They had no washing machines, and it was just go, you know. But in her later years, though, she had a great time, because she was always thankful that she always had someone of the family with her. You know, she had her mind right up to the day before she died. You know, and she just got weak and fell asleep. She was involved with Tops of the Towns. I would never used to live in. My mother was contacted, you know. And she got all her kids. Were the original members of Ships and Tira, my brother Aidan, my sister Margaret, and my sister Audrey. Mum sent us all to Father Herman. And but they ended up in one of the original dances, actually, in that show. You'd often comes on TVG Car, and you'd see him there. He was young at the time with long blonde hair. you know, so there was a lot of activity going on, like, you know, in the house. And my mother made sure we were all kind of busy doing something and that kind of, you know, that kind of way. And I never knew she wrote poems until she died, and all this was written down. Never knew she was doing it, and I suppose on the quiet, on her own, you know. One of the nice memories I have, in fact, when my mother passed away, in her will she stipulated we all could take something from the house, and what I took was 4 jumpers, which she had knitted for me. That's one of them. I find that kind of emotional. It's well, what was nice about it was, I remember, you know, when you were 6 and 7 years of age, and she'd call you over to fit you and all this, and it was exciting, you know. And even at that age, you sort of understood the love that she had for us. I have a photograph here.
Yeah.
We lived across the road from the school, National School in Tralee, just on the Oak Park Road. And that was lovely. But then we went into secondary school and I wasn't too fond of that. They didn't teach music. I went to Sister Aquino in the Presentation Convent to learn music. I think it was Wednesday afternoon, to go over to the nuns class, where there was one other guy and myself with about 30 women. And at 15 years of age, you know, that's kind of, we'll say no more about that. I met Howard Butler. I met him in the Green one day, just walking across. There was a teacher in the Green who was not very nice, and he used to bully Howard because he had long hair. He was a very good looking guy. He had long hair and he used to call him Mary. And Howard was upset about this, and I saw the injustice of that too, and we became friends. And we were friends forevermore after that. I think we were 18 when we hitched around Europe. We had just come back from Europe. We were doing a job for his father. We had just gone to the quarry and come back and put down stones, and we had it all finished, and he drove me back into town on his motorbike. And my brother woke me up around 1:30 the following morning to say that Howard was dead. And it was a drunk driver that crossed the road, and he was thrown from his bike and he broke his neck. That was a big shock. I suppose the first time I kind of got a sense of what death was about and the pain of it, but I've never would forget him. And I have his photograph at home. My first, I got a call from Nick's restaurant in Killorglin. Would I come out and play there? And that was my first time I ever played professionally. I used to just play at home, building up a repertoire over the years, and that was my first job. But then upper people came to town. I heard they were recruiting people to go on the show, and I got a call to come to a second audition up in Cork City, which I went to, and I got accepted into the show. First of all, the show was put together. We had to go to Tucson, Arizona, and we spent a month putting the show together in the University of Tucson, Arizona. And there was about 130 cast members, kind of half Irish, half English. There was Europeans, Americans, South Americans. And we performed in small theatres, big theatres. We went to up as far as I remember being in Butte, Montana, and it was very Irish there because of the copper mines. But it was a great experience really as a young person, you know, touring the world. We stayed with families everywhere we went. We had 4 buses, so we drove on the road from town to town. We went over into Providence, Rhode Island. We did Vermont, a lot of the New England states. And after that we flew to Europe, started in Sweden, went to Denmark, England, Netherlands. And then that was back to America, and we finished up the show back in America for a full year. Yeah. I normally was in the chorus line, but also I played the guitar in the band. and I just sang a bit, singing Bob Dylan's song for a while. And there was an Irish section in the show that I was come out and have to put on a Bonnie cap and an arm thing and sing the first verse of Lanigan's Ball, and then the dancers would come out on stage. It was all written by upper people's staff. It was a very big organisation, and they're still going to this day, and they're in Colorado now. Well, I ended up going back to America as an immigrant in 1985. Looking back on it now, I was illegal, like most people at that time, you know, and Ireland was economically was in a bad way, and everyone was leaving, and I was no different. I stayed there until 1990. I was in San Francisco for the earthquake of 1989, and I came home the year after that. I actually made a decision I was tired of America, really, tired of being illegal. I'd worked very hard when I was there, but I was not saving any money. I seemed to be spending it every weekend in the Irish bar, so just, I didn't have motivation to stay there. Anyway, my mother was getting old, and I wanted to go back to see my mother. I was homesick in the end, so I came home. Yeah. Resumed my music then, and I came back and ended up in Killarney playing music. I rented a house just outside Tralee, and waking up in the morning hearing cows moo after living in cities, it was fantastic. And I've never looked back. I appreciate Ireland now because of that, maybe because I lived in cities. My brother Aidan encouraged me to go back to education. And so he became my lecturer, and I did music theory, diploma course in music theory for 2 years, which turned out to be one of the best things I ever did. So I learned how to arrange music and to take a melody and put my own arrangements onto it, and I find it very simple to do. So from there, I got my job at the Europe Hotel and at the Killarney Park Hotel. So I worked in 2 5-star hotels for 13 years in total. Yeah, I played in the dining room, background music, and my forte really would be all the Irish melodies from the Gaelic tradition. You could say a combination of Sean O'Riordan, Phil Coulter, you know, but I had my own repertoire that I developed over the years. I used to play from 8 o'clock to 10:30 on a Saturday and Sunday night, and the Europe was lovely because it used to be full with people and a lovely clientele. When I turned 50, I decided that, well, I'm not getting any younger, and I was thinking as a musician, you'll never be able to afford a house unless you come out with a recording that sold millions of copies, but I decided to put my name down for a house. I decided I'd talk to a counsellor, and a few months later, I was told I had a place at Clued Housing. So I was thrilled when I saw the place, very happy here, and it's more security than anything else. Last year, myself and Mary and Tom, we planted daffodils, about 100 daffodils last year. And this year we have planted some tulips and daffodils down at the entrance. And just yesterday we planted, I think, 70 to 75 croquettes. So it's just an interest, you know. Well, one of the best pieces of wisdom that I personally found, and by pure accident, was inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is very hard. Meaning that whatever challenge you have, if it seems insurmountable, well, it mightn't be if you take it inch by inch. And I kind of apply that. It's one quote I would give to somebody, and I've said it to many people since. But the other quote, I suppose, is the one my mother always preached to us growing up. Do your best to be kind to people and discreet. So I find that also a good quote. I wouldn't be very religious, but to me that is religious. Like, you know, the way you behave. To me that is more spiritual than all the books I'd ever read on spirituality.